Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. So it's coming up to exam season, and ever since my GCSEs up till these exams, which will actually be my 6th set of very serious exams, an exam timetable and organisation has been absolutely key to ensuring that I pass but also get straight A's during every exam. Now I am a very strong believer in the fact that hard work pays off and that anyone can excel during exams. However, that comes with a huge caveat, and that is the fact that you need to be very strategic and clever about the way that you plan your revision. And this is where my very unique retrospective exam revision timetable comes in. By this point in medical school, I really have had years of exams to tweak and perfect this method, find the best way to pair Anki and Notion to excel in your exams but with the minimum effort required. So if you're excited to see why this method is so special, make sure to give the video a big thumbs up and also click that subscribe button. If you're thinking, who on earth is this person? Then hi, I'm Anna. I'm currently in my 3rd year of medical school at the University of Birmingham, and my channel literally has something for everyone, from medicine, productivity, lifestyle, and it really would mean the world if you joined the family and subscribed for weekly videos. Now before I get into setting this up, I need to tell you 2 things that you do not want to do for any exams that you have coming up, because believe me, I've been there, I've made these mistakes, and I just don't want you to have to do it. And firstly, whether you choose to listen to me and stick to my revision plan or not, I see a lot of videos out there that break down every single day, hour by hour, what you're gonna do, what topic you're gonna cover, and honestly, this is just so unachievable. You're gonna stick to this for a couple of days and then feel burnt out. No one can stick to such a strict revision plan, and instead, what I like to do is come up with weekly goals where I need to be to keep on track of all of the topics that I need to cover in time, and then each day I go in and decide what I'm going to do. If you plan it too much, it doesn't give you any scope to actually consider how you're finding each topic, which things you need to cover more often, whether you need to catch up on something that you didn't have time to finish. Linked with this is you don't need to be super strict about how many hours you're revising a day and setting yourself a goal of revising 8 hours every single day for 2 months, because again, your brain is just going to be shattered before you even get to the exam, and you're not letting yourself use your own motivation. There are some days where I literally feel like doing half an hour of revision, and you know what? That is so much better than doing nothing, and I'm much better listening to my body, taking that time off, and the next day catching up with this and doing a bigger block if my brain just really doesn't feel like taking in that information. High quality revision time is so much better than hours and hours of low quality time. Right, so now I've got that rant out the way, let's crack on with exactly how I want you to set up this revision. Now the first step, depending on what you're studying, might seem very simple, but that is coming up with a complete list of topics and also the conditions. Now my medical school are actually pretty kind, and in our handbook they give us a big long list of all of the learning objectives, including all the conditions that we need to know, and that is what I base my revision off. However, I know for other medical schools this can be a real challenge, and I would really try to hunt around different resources to see if you can find a list of learning objectives to base off. If you are still really struggling, speaking to one of the older years to see whether they know any resources or list of topics, or as a last resort, I would say going to a textbook and seeing what different conditions they include, because that way you're getting all of the major and really key ones. Then I actually go onto Anki and make separate decks for each of the topics, and then within this make sure that I've got another separate deck for all of the different conditions. And then throughout the year I will make my flashcards using the lectures, some of my favourite medical school resources such as QuesMed and Bite Medicine, and then just ward work and anything else to make the most thorough set of flashcards on each conditions that I can, and make sure that they're all ready for exam season and before I've even started revising. Now I'm not going to go into exactly how I do this, because I've made a whole video on Anki and why it is such an amazing resource and why you don't need to bother making any notes during medical school or during school really. I really think it is a complete waste of time, and active recall and using questions has been scientifically proven to be a much more efficient way of learning rather than writing writing out your notes or highlighting your notes, which is something that I used to be guilty of too, but has saved me loads and loads of time. But what I will go into properly later in the video is exactly how I add my new cards, because I get a lot of questions on how many new cards I add each day, and the answer is I have no set amount. And I also don't use Anki every single day outside of exam season either, because for me it's just not very sustainable, and it means that I'm already feeling tired and behind before I need to crack down on revision. So for me, I just start adding my new cards when I start my revision. But now you've got your exact list of topics and conditions and all of your cards made on Anki, this is where Notion and the real organisation begins. So you want to open up Notion, which if you haven't used before, I could not recommend more. It's basically like my second brain, and means that you can just organise everything, get all your notes down. I have my to-do list on here. I have any additional resources that cannot go onto Anki, and you can also just get it up on your phone as well. So if you have a thought or want to edit your timetable, you can literally do it from wherever you are. But immediately what you want to do is create a calendar and put in your exam dates. I also do this in my paper diary as well, just because I am still a bit old school and I do love having it all written down, and seeing when my exams are in paper form just makes me feel a little bit calmer. And then work backwards and see how many weeks you have left before your exams, and block out 2 weeks before that you want to have finished all your content. Now this is just personal preference for me, but I like to aim to gone over all my Anki cards and at least reviewed all of the topics 2 weeks before. This just gives me some time to focus on practice questions, everything that I'm finding really hard. Gives me some wriggle room as well. If I haven't quite finished everything that I set out to do, I'm not leaving it till the last minute. And then you want to go in and work backwards and split up the number of weeks by the number of conditions that you have, and set goals for which topics you're doing when. Now this is a really important step and something that you really need to take your time and think about. I base this on how many Anki cards I've made, and also how hard each different topic is, because this is where I actually add my Anki cards. So I'm not adding 10 a day, I just have the goal that I need to have done all of that topic and all of the little sub conditions by the end of the week that I've set it as a goal. So for instance, this week I need to have done all of my liver topic, which within it has loads of different conditions from acute liver failure, hepatitis, and today I've managed to add no new Anki cards and just do repeats. But I have a completely free day tomorrow, so I'm going to spend significantly longer adding in new cards. This just means that you can really tailor Anki to suit you and suit what you have on, but also how hard you're finding the cards. Yesterday I did a really hard topic and I'm still struggling with those cards today, and I don't need the added pressure of having to add a completely new condition on top. So when you're blocking these topics in as weekly goals, you need to think about the amount of Anki cards or resources you have to cover for them, the amount of conditions, but also factor in things like holiday or study breaks that you have, where you might have more time to cover more topics. Then on top of this, something that I've only recently started to accept and schedule in, but has made a huge difference to my marks, is when you're going to do external questions and use external question banks. Now I hate doing practice questions because I've always had the mindset that until you've revised all the content, there's no point doing practice questions. I literally could not be more wrong. It is a huge tool to actually learning the content and fully utilises active recall, because even when you're testing yourself on your own questions, you have written those questions, so somewhere you do know the information. Whereas when you're using these other resources, you've never seen those questions before, which is exactly how it's going to be in your exam, and starting that as early as possible really is crucial, hence why I schedule it into my calendar. So how I organise this is each day I try to do an hour of practice questions, and I alternate between 2 different topics, one of which being the Anki cards I did the week before to keep that spaced repetition and keep it in the back of my head, and another one on the topic that I'm adding my Anki cards for that week. Those are the challenging ones because I haven't really covered that content. However, it forces me to think about what I am adding, seeing the themes that come up and the most important conditions within that topic, and also test some of my understanding of what I'm actually adding on Anki at the same time. And then underneath my calendar, what I actually do is create a table where I can track how I'm finding these questions, how many new ones I've added, because this way you're going to identify themes that you're finding particularly hard. And I use the classic traffic light, red, amber, green, but you're going to see what you're finding hard, and then those last 2 weeks you can really focus on those topics or tailor your timetable as you go along to fit more of this topic in if you're finding it particularly hard. And if I need to put something into my calendar to add a reminder to go over it at a spaced period of time, then I can track that and make sure that I'm doing that, because that is the beauty of Anki. It does a lot of the spaced repetition for you, and once I've added those cards, I'm always going over the previous cards and it will set them into an algorithm, which will mean that I'm seeing them at a point which keeps in my brain, so by the time we get to exams we've got a full brain stored of all of the knowledge that we need. That is the full detail on exactly how I plan and organise my revision. Good luck anyone who has exams coming up soon. The key really is to get organised and not bury your head. Start early, even if that means sitting down and coming up with your revision timetable and doing half an hour a day to begin with. It is so much better than nothing. I really hope you did find today's video helpful. If you did, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you have any questions on anything, then comment below and I will get straight back to you, and I'll see you all so soon with the next video, everyone. Bye.